Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful and maybe one of the most mysterious tools in game development, Unity shaders. So how in the world do you render something like this? I mean, look at it. You'd probably guess it's built from millions and millions of polygons, right? But what if I told you this entire scene, all this complexity, is being drawn in real time with just pure math? Yeah, that's not magic. That's the incredible power of shaders. To get how that's even possible, we got to go back to basics. We need to start with the absolute foundation. What exactly is a shader? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a recipe. It's a small program that runs directly on your graphics card, your GPU. And it's got all the instructions for how a surface should look. We're talking everything, down to every single pixel. Its color, its texture, how it reacts to light, the whole shebang. Okay, so the first ingredient in our lighting recipe is what's called diffuse light. This is pretty straightforward. It's just the base color of an object. Think about a matte surface. It's going to be brightest where it's facing a light source head-on, and it gets darker as that surface angles away. Simple as that. Next up, we need some ambient lighting. See, in the real world, light doesn't just travel in a straight line and stop. It bounces off everything, filling in the shadows so they aren't just pitch black holes. This ambient light, this is what makes an object feel like it's actually in the scene, instead of just, pasted on top. And for that final crucial touch, we add specular lighting. These are those bright, shiny highlights you see on smooth stuff. And here's the key. The highlight moves depending on your viewing angle, on where the camera is. This is what tricks our brain into seeing something as glossy or metallic or even just a little bit wet. So let's put it all together and see the difference. On the left, we've got a sphere with only diffuse lighting. See how harsh and kind of flat that shadow is? Now look at the right. We've added ambient and specular light and bam! The shadow is softer, there's that nice realistic shine. It's suddenly a convincing looking object. All from just 3 simple rules. So that's the classic theory. But how do we actually build these things in Unity today? Well, the modern workflow basically gives you 2 different paths you can go down. On one side, you've got raw code. This is HSLL, which stands for High-Level Shading Language. This path gives you ultimate fine-grained control over everything. But, it has a steep learning curve. On the other side, you have Unity's shader graph. This is a visual, node-based editor, and it's a total game changer. It's literally like building your effects with Lego, connecting blocks to create amazing visuals. It makes shader creation way more accessible to artists and designers, not just hardcore programmers. All right, now that we know the how, let's get to the fun part, the what. Because once you get the hang of these tools, you can really start to bend reality. Let's just fire through some of the incredible things you can pull off. So this brick wall, it looks like it has real physical depth, right? Like you could run your hand over it. But nope, it's a completely flat surface. The shader is using a trick called parallax mapping. It cleverly shifts the texture around based on your viewing angle, creating this really powerful illusion of depth without adding a single extra polygon. Or you can take that idea even further with interior mapping. Believe it or not, this entire furnished room is also just a single flat plane on the outside of a building. The shader is faking the entire interior. For huge city scenes, this trick is an absolute lifesaver for performance. Shaders can also bring things to life. This wobbling fish? It's not using a pre-baked animation clip. Its movement is being generated on the fly, in real time, by a shader that's mathematically pushing and pulling the vertices of the mesh. It's procedural animation, and it looks incredibly natural. And remember, shaders aren't just for realism. They're all about defining unique art styles. A toon shader, for instance, throws out all that smooth, gradual lighting we talked about and replaces it with the hard shadows and flat colors of a comic book. It can completely transform a game's entire look and feel. But here's the thing. Drawing pretty pictures, that's really only half the story. A true shader guru knows that the GPU is so much more than just a graphics tool. This is where we get into something called compute shaders. See, your GPU is designed to do thousands of simple calculations all at the same time. That's called parallel processing. A compute shader lets you tap into that raw power for things that have nothing to do with graphics, offloading massive calculations from the CPU and getting huge performance gains. And the performance difference here it's just wild. To randomize 10,000 cubes 100 times over, a normal CPU takes over 11 seconds. The GPU, using a compute shader, does the exact same job in just over half a second. That's a 20-fold performance boost. Using the GPU for this kind of heavy lifting is an absolute game changer. And all of that, it brings us to the ultimate trick. We've seen shaders fake depth and animate models. But what if we use them to create the geometry itself from nothing? This is the truly mind-bending world of ray marching. The process, when you break it down, is surprisingly simple. For every single pixel on your screen, the shader fires out a ray. It then marches a short distance along that ray and asks a simple question, a math function really. Am I inside an object yet? If the answer is no, it just marches forward again. If the answer is yes, boom, it colors the pixel. That's it. You are literally rendering complex 3D shapes from nothing but an equation. Okay, so creating all these amazing, mind-blowing visuals is one thing. But there is one final, absolutely critical challenge that separates the amateur from the true guru. And it's this: power is nothing without performance. I mean, what good is an incredible effect if it brings a high-end gaming PC to its knees? It's useless. A real expert makes sure their amazing creations can actually run smoothly on the kinds of devices real people actually use. So how do they pull that off? Well, an expert is thinking about performance from the very beginning. They're making smart choices, like using lower precision numbers for calculations on mobile where you'd never notice the difference. Or they find clever workarounds to get a transparency effect that's way less taxing on the GPU. Every one of these small decisions adds up, and it's what ensures a game runs great for everybody. And that's our journey. In just these last few minutes, we've gone from the absolute basics of lighting a simple sphere, all the way to simulating entire rooms, animating life, and even rendering worlds from pure mathematics. You've seen the incredible power and artistry that's hiding inside a few lines of code. We've demystified the tools. We've shown you the path from the fundamentals to guru-level techniques. You've got the recipe book now. So really, there's only one question left. What worlds will you create?